Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Erik ten Hag, what is his backup plan if he doesn't get Darwin NUNEZ as his forward this season? We're going to look at the options and some I don't like, but who we know United are looking at. So let's get into it. Darwin NUNEZ is clearly, if I said to you, who is the number one striking option that Manchester United are looking for, you'd probably say Darwin NUNEZ. We definitely need one. Martial isn't going to be staying. We don't know what the future of Mason Greenwood is, and there's no point thinking about that. Marcus Rashford has never really shown the ability to be a forward. So Darwin NUNEZ, or whoever we're going to bring in, is essential to Manchester United. With Cavani going as well, we can't rely on Cristiano Ronaldo week in, week out, especially with Thursday, Sunday football. But on top of that, we also can't buy a striker that we think is going to bench Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo scored 18 goals in the Premier League last season. Unbelievable in an unbelievably bad United side. So we need somebody that can score goals, can, if Ronaldo gets injured, play for United, but also be happy enough to play out of position or maybe on the bench when Ronaldo starts the majority of the games, which is what he will want to do. There is this myth around Cristiano Ronaldo that he will be happy to sit on the bench and nurture somebody through into his spot. He's running out of time in his career. He's not going to be playing in the Champions League next year, so he wants to score goals. So who are the options? I think with Darwin NUNEZ, it's I may be completely wrong on this, but the information I've got, and just looking at it pragmatically, I don't think this Darwin NUNEZ deal is by any means done. I don't think it's going to be a very quick deal, and I don't necessarily think we'll win it, and I don't necessarily think it's the right deal for United or NUNEZ. 80 million quid, 60 million quid. Does he want to sit on the bench? Does he want to play on the left wing? Is he suitable for the left wing in the Premier League? Is it wise to bring a goal scorer in and stick him on the wing? You could damage his development. So I don't know that Darwin NUNEZ is the obvious choice, even though I suspect that this is the player that United and Ten Hag maybe want. But backup is definitely needed. And I think in the backup areas, we spoke last night about this supposed interest in the young striker playing in France, Hugo Ekitike. Interesting option. Don't think he's the backup option. Apparently we are in talks for him. Could just be agent talk, could be paper talk. Interesting. Does fit the profile of being a young player that's got a lot of talent. There's a lot of interest in him. I think Newcastle and PSG have been mentioned. And certainly he is probably the sort of player that you could play in the Europa League, not playing in the Premier League, and hope that over the year he develops under Cristiano Ronaldo and becomes a top striker. In many ways, it's tick, tick, tick with him. But we don't know how likely United are to make that move. We don't know how likely United are to go for that type of a striker. It feels like United want to go for somebody that's more polished, more ready, more able to score goals. Why that would be, I suppose you're right. What Manchester United want is they want somebody who's happy to be an understudy to Ronaldo for a year, who's not going to moan about being on the bench, who comes into the position knowing that they are going to be on the bench, but ultimately wants to be better. I would liken this, if you're into Formula 1, to Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Lewis Hamilton's the GOAT, but this season, in a transitional season for Mercedes, George Russell's scoring more points and finishing above him. Hamilton is still the better racer, but that development opportunity that Russell has taken, he wants to grab it, and I think that's what United need. So maybe Ekitike or someone like that would be an interesting one. Nkunku is somebody that we've been mentioned about. I feel that Nkunku personally would have been perfect for United. He can play anywhere across the front three. He's played as an attacking number 9 or false 9, whatever you want to call it, for Leipzig this season. He scored a lot of goals. Probably the same price profile as NUNEZ, but more manoeuvrable than NUNEZ in the fact he could play off the right, off the left, behind the striker, or as the striker. The problem with Nkunku is he an out-and-out number 9 in the Premier League? And he probably isn't. And the price profile and the fact that he's at Leipzig and they don't want to sell, and the fact that we no longer have that good relationship with Leipzig now that Rangnick's gone, probably doesn't mean we're in for Nkunku. In fact, I would say that the fact that Rangnick's gone means that United have said no about Nkunku, because if they wanted Nkunku, you'd keep Rangnick on for the summer at least, just to make sure you get that deal done. So I think Nkunku's out of the equation. So if NUNEZ is out of the equation, Nkunku's out of the equation, Ekitike or someone like that who's younger is out of the equation, we haven't been linked properly to people like Alexander Isak. Jonathan David, I don't think we've really properly been linked to. Osimhen would be ridiculously expensive from the Italian league. So I think that goes back to the name that I don't really want to talk about. Richarlison, whatever you want to call him. So I've done a bit of a deep dive on Richarlison because ultimately this would not be my choice, but it could happen. We are genuinely putting him on the list. He is on the list. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want him. but he is on the list for Manchester United as an option up front. I actually think when you look at Ten Hag and what he's done with players, especially someone like Sebastian Haller, there's no way he'd look at Richarlison and go, I don't think I can work with him. I think I can get something out of him. And what I would say about Richarlison is that he's definitely a tempestuous player. He's like Bruno Fernandes, to be honest. You either love his attitude or you find it frustrating. When things are going well, you absolutely love it. When things are going badly, he becomes quite irritating. And that is why I'm a little bit concerned about Richarlison, because I do worry about whether his personality is the right sort of personality in a disciplinarian environment that we think Ten Hag is going to implement. But let's look at Richarlison, and I'm going to compare him to Harry Kane. I'm not going to compare him to Ronaldo or anybody else, because Harry Kane would be a striker that many people wanted Manchester United to buy, who is out of our price range and we can't buy. So if you compared Harry Kane to Richarlison last season on some key performance indicators, considering Harry Kane played in a team that finished 4th and Richarlison played in a team that was fighting relegation, 25 years of age Richarlison, 28 coming up for 29 Harry Kane, so he's got a few years on him. Effectively, let me just get to the right page here. So goals per game, 0.4 goals per game is what Richarlison averages, 0.65 for Harry Kane. Shots per game, 2.3 for Richarlison, 3.1 for Harry Kane. 48% on target for Kane, 40% for Richarlison. So Harry Kane is slightly better, but not massively better when it comes to goals and shots. Although Richarlison gets less shots on goal than Kane does per 90. Remember, Richarlison's playing in a relegation side, Kane isn't. Assists per 90, 0.17 for Richarlison, 0.16 for Harry Kane. Now this is something that people are really impressed with. I'm impressed with Harry Kane's link-up play and his ability to provide over the last couple of years. Richarlison actually averages more assists than Harry Kane in a relegation side. Dribbles per 90, 4.8 for Richarlison, 3.5 for Harry Kane. So Richarlison's a player that on the ball can get on the ball and dribble it more. Offensive duels per 90, 15 for Richarlison, 11 for Harry Kane. So when he's on the ball, he's more combative than Harry Kane, which is quite surprising, because an offensive duel is basically when you've got the ball and somebody tries to take it off you. And Richarlison gets involved in a lot more of those. A lot of hold-up play for Everton, wins a lot of free kicks. They both win roughly the same amount of offensive duels, around 38%. Passes per 90, 18 for Richarlison, 22 for Harry Kane, 68% success rate with Richarlison, 74% with Harry Kane. So, look, Harry Kane's a better striker than Richarlison, we know that. But actually, in a relegation side, Richarlison ain't far off in quite a few areas, whether it's passing, scoring, assists, dribbling, hold-up play. He's not, you know what? I wouldn't say I was surprised. I'd say I didn't want to look at it. That's me being honest. And I think the whole point of this community we've got is that it should never really be about me looking at Richarlison going, I think he's crap, and finding everything bad about him. I don't personally want us to buy him, but I will look at it pragmatically like that and say, that's in the Premier League as well. Nunez is from the Portuguese league. And then Nkunku would be Bundesliga. So this is a Premier League player who's played in a relegation side as a forward, who you'd bring into a better side with better players around him. Are we better off sticking with what we've got, or are we better off bringing Richarlison in? And the reality is, we're better off bringing Richarlison in. And look, I'm not open to it. I'll always say this: if United buy a player, I will back them. And if United go for Richarlison, I hope we can curb his petulance, I suppose you would call it, and get his focus. He's been in the Premier League a long time. He was at Watford before us for a year, before Everton for a year. I think he's got 2 years left on his contract. So look, I don't want Richarlison. It's not the player that really sparks my excitement. But if you're not going to get Nunez, and we're discounting Nkunku, and we're not going for the younger profile striker, we know he's on the list. He probably is the most logical one. And he also could play off the right and the left and put Ronaldo through the front, and then become the number 9. So maybe that's what United are looking at. I'm not closed mind to it. I'm not saying if we sign him, I'm going to, not back him. I 100% will. It's not the signing I want, but when you look at it, he does have some good qualities that would be useful for us. He has done it in the Premier League, so he knows what it's all about. I suppose the price tag would be interesting. With 2 years left on his contract, what would Everton want? If he's refusing to sign a contract, they might take 50 million, because in a year's time it'll be a lot less than that. But I don't know. Over to you. What's the backup plan if we don't get Nunez? What your dream is, what your reality is. I'm going to tell you now, I think if we don't get Nunez, we are looking at Richarlison or maybe this lad from Reims who we spoke about last night. But look, smash a like on the video, subscribe bottom right hand corner, and get your comments in below. What's Ten Hag's backup plan up front? Because we need one if we don't get Nunez. Thanks for watching.